Hey friends, Emily here. Today I wanted to talk about mixing bass guitars and how to get them to cut through on laptop and cell phone speakers and other mono output devices, since so many people listen to music this way, even though they are not very good and don't really allow any low end to come through. They are quite popular, and we must have our mixes translate well through them. These types of speakers are very mid-range focused, and the mix has to translate on these devices, and a good mix will hold together when listening through these types of speakers. So no matter if it's a recorded bass guitar, a synth bass, a loop, whatever is represented as the bass, how do we get it to come through these less than ideal speakers? There's a simple little technique you can use to add some more mid-range and clarity to enhance the bass sound so that it does translate well on all music listening devices. And here's how I like to set that up. First, we've got our bass track here, and I've just done a little bit of processing to it. There were some time adjustment things that I needed to do in order to kind of fill in there with the kick drum. We're not really going to get into that in this video, but I will show you a little bit of EQ that I did. It's just kind of a standard, rolling off some of the low end, boosting a little bit of that sub frequency that, the bass really likes to sit at around 80 hertz. And I've got a little bit of a boost here, right where that plucky sound is. That's the area that I need to come through on these types of listening devices, our laptops, our cell phones, our mono speakers. And this one here is just kind of making a line in between those, because there was some kind of wonky frequencies that were coming up with these two boosts because they are quite broad. So I'm just ducking down some things that were being brought up that I don't want to focus on. Now the next thing that we need to do is set up a bus track here. And this is where we're going to have our saturation processing. I'm going to set up a send here from the bass track to the bass grit. That's what I'm calling it here, because I want that kind of mid-frequency grit to poke through. That's the overall goal here. And want to set this to pre-fader. That way, regardless of the adjustments that I make here, we're still sending our full signal to the bus track. Next thing I want to do is to make sure that I'm not sending any of those lower frequencies where I've got the 80 hertz boost, anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to saturate here and poke through, because it's irrelevant. That's the whole point of bringing out some of that mid-range in the bass, because we're going to lose a lot of that low end, that body, when we listen through the laptop speakers, the cell phone speakers, even our AI devices. So we're rolling off quite a bit. This is up to 147 there. And then I'm just bringing up just a little over a dB here, because this is where a lot of that pluckiness is in a bass, and that string sound. And even if the bass wasn't recorded with a pick playing, it will give that kind of impression, and I love that sound anyways. So that's what we're going for. So I just listened through it there, and that's where that was coming out about 1K, a little over 1K. So now here is where the fun starts. Hey friends, thanks so much for watching this video and subscribing to the channel. Besides making videos, I'm also a recording and mix engineer. You can find out more about me and the music services that I provide by going to fairairmusic.com. Have a look around, and don't forget to fill out a contact form so that we can get started on making your music sound like a record. I really like this plugin. This is the Sound Toys Radiator. I think it sounds great on basses, but for this in particular, I'm trying to crunch up a little bit of that mid-frequency boost that I'm using with the Pro Q3 this is going to be what's going to come through on those speakers. I am taking down the bass and boosting the treble here, just boosting some of that higher register up. I am putting a little more input as well as an output. This is all the way wet because I'm going to be controlling that with the return fader here. Now I do have this on clean, even though there is some of that tape hiss type of sound coming through on this plugin. I love it. It's not something that I don't like. It's just that I think for this particular track, I need it to be just a little bit more clean. And it's going into a line here. I just didn't like the way that the mic sounded. I think the line's going to work a lot better. But you can try that out yourself. So what I'll do is I'll take this all the way down and slowly introduce the sound that we're trying to create here with the EQ and the saturation here. So as you can hear, by bringing this up, the bass grit track that we've made here, the added saturation, the added mid-range, it really starts to poke through and have this really good pick sound. Even though this was not played with a pick, you really start to hear it very clearly, the strings, and it doesn't sound as woofy as it was with just the bass track here, because that's going to be completely lost when listening through these devices that we're talking about here. So that should cut through quite nicely, and it sounds really good. You can also do this with the Sans Amp plugin that comes free with Pro Tools as well. I just happen to like the Soundtoys Radiator on bass. And that's it. Let me know if this works for you. And if you've enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up and share with anyone who you feel might benefit from this technique. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new videos. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, y'all.